Just in time for Valentine's, I've designed a heart pillow to look like one of those handmade Valentines we used to make as kids. As you can see here, I've designed the pattern with so many different symbols so you can make the other half for someone that is special to you. I've even given you a full alphabet so you can make your pillow say anything you want it to say. Anyway, like I always say, download that pattern and let's go. Let's make it. Printed and taped together your patterns. The first thing we're going to do is cut out the left side of the heart and the right side of the heart. But before I do that, I just wanted to mention to you, I haven't cut out my details yet, but when I do, what I like to do is store them in a clear sleeve like this and keep them all organized in a binder. Maybe that helps you as well, in case you were wondering what to do with them. Okay, cut this out. So I'm using a very lightweight canvas for my two heart sides, and I made sure the right sides are together, and I'm going to trace and cut around. I hope you're enjoying my tutorial. Can you believe that less than 10% of the viewers watching my videos and downloading my free patterns actually subscribe? I'm really trying to build a positive making community, and I would really appreciate it if you subscribe. Thanks. We have these 4 pieces cut out. We know that this right here is going to be the front of the left side, because this would go in the back and that would form the pillow. And this right here is the front of the right side. So what we want to do is take these backs and push them aside, and now we want to decorate and create what we want the front of our pillow to look like. So we're going to decide the design for the left and for the right. I decided to make these stick figures out of denim because I want the edge to fray, and what I did was I cut the male out of the denim and I put a light layer of hot glue. So eventually we're going to iron it onto the front of the pillow, reheating the glue so it acts as sort of like an automatic iron-on. So now I'm going to do the same thing with the female. For my letters, I decided to cut them out of felt, and the way I like to do it is flip them backwards, trace them, and then cut them out. And why I do it that way is that after I trace them, if my cutting isn't perfect, you won't see the pencil mark, which will be on the back of the letters. Your letters are cut out, you'll decide if you want to hand sew them onto your pillow or machine sew them or do the hot glue trick on the back. It's completely up to you. The details I want to add to my pillows, I want to use some fabrics as patches, and of course when you cut fabrics, what happens is they fray. So I'm going to iron on some interfacing so that when I cut my details out, they won't fray on the edge. here's what I've created for the left and right sides of the pillow hearts. This definitely has the feel of one of those elementary school Valentine's Day cards, and that's exactly what I wanted. I didn't want perfection. I kind of wanted like a handmade, sort of crafty look for the pillow. So for this one right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just stitch down in the center here and add a tack because I want these flowers here to be flappy. Of course, you don't have to do them that way. You can iron them down, or you can even sew around. As for the rest of all these, you know, as I showed you before, I created them so that I can iron them right onto the fronts of these pillows. Of course, you are free to pin them down and sew on the sewing machine or by hand, whatever look you want. Of course, sewing them by hand and tracing these with embroidery floss will give it even more of a craftier look. So, like I said, I'm going to just tack this one down right here. And I'm going to start in the back of the flower. Now, the next step is to iron these into place. So you want to make sure you're not very close to the edge for any of these pieces because they will get sandwiched into the seam allowance. So I brought mine down quite a bit. And also when the pillow is rounded and stuffed and rounded, we just want the letters to be on the front and not falling over the edge there. These hands I did bring to the edge purposely because when I bring the pillows together, I want the hands to sort of look like they're holding hands. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just use a piece of fabric and with my iron, just give it some steam and it will reheat the hot glue and keep all of these pieces in place. Now that everything is ironed in place, what I'm going to do is attach the back of the pillow on, and you're going to repeat the same process for the other half of the heart. So you're going to line it up as perfectly as possible, and then you'll pin it in place. So what you're going to do here is you're going to leave an opening, and I suggest that you leave the opening on the straight edge here, just wide enough for your hand to fit in. So in case you don't remember, you can even mark it with a pencil. So there's where my opening is. And after I finish pinning, what I'm going to do is go over to the sewing machine and sewing with 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to do a back stitch there and work my way all the way around the perimeter of this half heart and back stitch there. Same thing on this half. They're sewn together, what you'll do is you'll trim off all of the corners that you find here. Or these points, and wherever you have a corner this way, what you'll do is you'll trim very close to the stitch line, but of course don't trim that stitch line. And then to help this turn rounder and with a nicer curve without any puckers, what we're going to do is we're going to cut some notches into this like this, okay? And it will help it turn much smoother, just on the curve here of the heart. And you're going to repeat the same thing to the other half of the heart. Part of turning them right side out. As usual, I always keep by me a chopstick to get into these points here when I need it. So what I do is I stick my hand inside and grab one end and pull it out, just to make it easier. I'm going to get my hand in there and I smooth it out. Adorable pillow. Okay. And like I said, this is what I use the chopstick for. Just poking out these points. If you don't have a chopstick, use something that's dull to do this. And now I'm going to turn out side, or the right side's out, the other one as well. Now, right before stuffing it, what I like to do is turn the opening in. So these raw edges, we're going to turn them in and give them a press so that they stay nice and straight. And when we do a blind stitch, it will be nice and clean and no one will even know where we stuffed the pillows. Do the same on this one. Turn it in just as much as your seam allowance. Part of all is stuffing. Try not to take a huge bunch and stuff all at once because you don't want a lumpy and bumpy pillow. And I would start stuffing the corners first because once you stuff the major center here, then you really can't get to the corners. Get the pillow half stuffed to the point that you like, what you're going to do with your double threaded needle is you're going to close up the side. You can use any stitch here that you want, but I like to use a blind stitch so that you can't tell where this pillow was stuffed. And I've done this tutorial many times in my videos. You can look it up anywhere, but I'm going to show you again here. So first I go from the inside, and you don't want to get your thread, which is a coordinating color, to come out to the outside. So I am going to be sewing just on these flaps that I have ironed in. Of course, with all my stuffing, but I'll clean that later. And here I go, staying on the very edge. Back and forth. The smaller the stitch, the better. And when you get to the end, you're going to close it off with an end off stitch. And you're going to repeat the same exact process for the other side of the pillow. And that's it. Our two-piece Valentine pillow is complete. And if you really love pillow tutorials like this, why don't you check out my How to Make a Puppy Pillow? And you never know, with your creativity, you can turn it into a Valentine themed pillow as well. Anyway, thanks for being here and watching, and I'll see you in the next video.